alaikum. Welcome to another Suhoor Bite. Today I have somebody I have known for a little bit, but only met quite recently. Today I have Yassine, commonly known as Narcy, multimedia artist, musician, really all sorts of things as long as it's multimedia, isn't it?
Everything.
Everything. As long as you can express something through it, it's yours, right?
The only thing I can't make is like kebab or mahshi, but everything else I got my hand in.
These are the tough ones. We had a discussion the other day on the Habibis podcast about who makes the best kebab and kofta, and apparently it's the Iraqis. Which
I mean, the Iraqis do everything. We started everything, so we do it best.
we met last week on Al Jazeera speaking about Iraq, actually, in a less fortunate context. The whole 6 days in Fallujah thing. We both didn't get to say everything we wanted, did we?
No, I mean, I knew that the media is like a very, when you get on a TV show that has a limited amount of time, you're really like boxed in and they kind of control the narrative. So I just made sure that my interventions had statements and points that I had predestined prior to being on the channel.
Right.
And I think I got through as much as I could, you know what I mean?
What was like a big thing you wanted to get through that we didn't really get to touch on? Because for me, like I really wanted to talk about like just the general representation of our people in media a little bit more, but they really focused it sort of like on 6 days, right?
Yeah.
Did you have anything?
Yeah, I wanted to really talk about Iraq and how constantly when Iraq is represented in the media, it's very much in a negative sense for the last 20, 30 years. And it's like enough, like this is not a general Muslim thing or a general Arab thing. This is very specific to my community and my people. And if I'm going to be in this space of media, then I'm going to rep my people to the fullest. And she kept, the show kept being detracted to the word controversial around this game, 6 days in Fallujah. And it's like, no, it's not controversial. It's ignorant, There's a big difference. So I was just trying to sway the conversation in that direction and just have bullet points. And you did the same. I think we did pretty well.
Yeah, it worked out well. It was in the end. I think I watched it back and I was pretty happy with it. But
and it got a lot of press, bro. We got in a lot of newspapers after that, from all over the world, from Le Monde to the Times in the UK. Like it's everywhere now.
Yeah, which is good. That was the part that was needed because the conversation in the games press, they're generally like Rebecca did an incredible job, right? Yes. Rebecca Valentine did an incredible job. But the fact that it took so much time between when they had the developer speak about his game without any pushback, without any questions, just like, white Americans interviewing white Americans about this, and actually having an Arab or Iraqi voice or a Muslim voice or anybody that would have a feeling with this that isn't like, oh yeah, cool shooter game. That took weeks was really, it was kind of depressing to me. Like it feels like the games press just isn't equipped to deal with issues of real life that much, and especially not when it comes to Arabs or Iraqis.
I think, Rami, if you got to look at it in an overarching way, capitalism and the drive of many of these platforms that we use is a capitalist drive. Whether we're talking about Google or Twitter or Facebook or any gamer company, or it's driven by money at the end of the day. So. And capitalism is an extension of the colonial bodies that created the countries that run as capitalist societies. So it's like, how they say generational trauma is in our bloodstream. I think that generational ignorance runs in the bloodstream of capitalism. And it's like, you can't separate the structure of financial gain from exploitation of a people, and whoever it has exploited along the way becomes a part of that algorithm, that code, so that's why I took the break.
Yeah, no, it's why, and it's also I think why these conversations are important right now, because they won't happen in the system itself, right? They won't happen in the system that benefits from that oppression, that benefits from that exploitation. So I guess you just got to start talking, but to see the conversation sort of ripple around the world has been nice. What if you were to represent Iraq in a game? What would that look like, you think? What kind of game would you imagine?
I would love for a game to be like the rebuilding of Iraq. Like a Sim City. I've always had this vision of a game outside of Iraq, but like similar to like the game of life, But imagine getting born into the second life in this world where you're born as a baby. You don't choose what color you are, what community you're from, what your parents' background is or their experiences. You're just born into these either messed up or really privileged situations, and how you navigate the world. Like, that's a very real, and that's a very difficult game to make, obviously, because
Right.
it contains so many different obstacles that you can come across. You really have to create an earth. So with Iraq, I mean, I would either do something that's about the richness of the culture and do like the eras that existed prior to
And there's so much to talk
colonialism and
about.
neo-colonial, and even that era was messed up. But like,
Right.
you know, just to show the richness in Babylon and Sumeria, let's say like a Sumerian video game where you're
Right.
a god or whatever, that would be dope. But otherwise, I would want a game to be played from the perspective of an Iraqi kid, like
Right.
who has navigated all these things and is trying to
Yeah.
become, you know, one with the world. I think that would be a beautiful game.
The one of the thing that most frustrates me about this whole discussion, when you're on Twitter and you're facing all this hate and harassment from people that are like, it's just a video game. Like, I'm a game developer. I don't believe it's just a video
Yeah.
game. It's part of this media. It's part of the media outing. It's part of our culture. It's part of the military complex in many ways, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that frustrates me, people going like, why don't you make that game from the Iraqi perspective? Now, like, if I wanted to make a game from the Iraqi perspective, it wouldn't be about the invaders, right? It wouldn't be about like how everything is that content.
It doesn't need to be about war.
Why would I make a game about war? Like, people go like, oh, we want to capture the reality of war. The reality of war is depressing.
Yeah.
It's really depressing.
From any perspective, you know what I mean?
The stories that we've been told about war, about winning wars, because that's the U.S. perspective on war is very much about how do we win a war. There are games that play it differently, but if I wanted to make a game about the Middle East, about Iraq, about Egypt, about any of the countries with our people in it, no, let's make something about how beautiful that world can be. And like, it's still messed up. It's still multifaceted. There's still problems. We still have our own issues. But I've never seen those in work. I've never seen those in games.
And I think, you know, it all comes down to also who's complicit in the exploitation of these ancient cultures. And unfortunately, Arabs are very much complicit in it too now. So the people that you would assume have the money to fund these projects, you know, like a 1948 movie from the perspective of a Palestinian family, you know,
Right.
You know how beautiful that would be. But that
Yeah.
you know, no one in Hollywood is going to fund that. And then if you find somebody from the community to fund it, it's very difficult, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's where we're hitting a wall, is we don't have enough people with money that care. Right.
Right.
Again, it goes down to
Capitalism.
what your purpose in life is. Like, is your purpose in life to get rich and that's it? Or is your purpose in life to get rich and create new stories and embed them into the consciousness of society, you know? And I mean, I think our generation has more people like that, but we're by far not as rich as we could be to make these things.
Yeah. We missed the money boat in that regard entirely, because the structures are, the capitalist structures are pretty sturdy by now, and getting into them basically, it requires the goodwill of the people with the money. Making things that speaks to truth or power or culture or trauma, that's not what people want. The only things they want is like the things that fit in that narrative, in that story.
Yeah, it doesn't perpetuate the system, right?
Right.
Perpetuate the system. Life doesn't perpetuate the system. Death does, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's very true. Narcy, thank you so much. This I'm glad we got to chat a little bit about this, because I felt it really went fast on Al Jazeera, and I think a lot of time was just spent catching up with where the narrative was thrown. Just having some time to talk with you for a few minutes.
For sure, bro.
It was really lovely.
Thank you.
You're working on some new stuff, aren't you?
I am working currently. I just put out an album with Thanks Joey called Meme Against the World, which is really a reflection on the things we're talking about, but really about living on the internet in this time and what it means to our hearts, you know? So it's a short little punch. I have an Rockefeller album coming out that's going to be like a campaign for a year. I'm putting out a song and a video every month.
Nice.
Post Ramadan, so starting in the summer, inshallah. And then
inshallah,
working on some TV projects. Hopefully they get off the ground. Working on a podcast idea. So I'm just like shooting my shot in multiple directions till something hits.
Awesome.
You know?
Awesome. If people want to follow this, people want to keep in touch, where can they find you?
You can find me at Twitter at the Narcissist, Narcy Narc on IG. Go to wearethemedium.com. Check out our store. Go get some books. Go get some vinyls. Go get some Rockefeller merch. We're on the way, man.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Habibi.
Salam.